Hi everyone, Mr. McAlpine here. Hope you're all keeping well. This is going to be the first look that we're going to take at the command word evaluate, okay, at National 5 and higher level. So by the end of this, I'd like us to have an initial understanding of the command word evaluate within the context of performance development and how we form judgments based on evidence. And to be successful, we should have a better familiarisation of the answer structure for an evaluate question, and we should have had some practice forming judgments or opinions, in other words, on specific and generic contexts. Now, it's important to note that when we talk about evaluate, when we look at the sliding scale of complexity, along with analyse, evaluate is right up there in terms of complexity. We have moved away from the slightly more simple describe and identify style command words, and we're now looking for you to produce answers based on much more higher order thinking. We want you to critically analyse and now evaluate when we're looking at these style command words. At this stage, it's important for me to note that because this is just our first look at this, the purpose of this presentation is to get you forming your own opinions, or in other words, judgments, based on some evidence that you've got, and using that to back up what it is you're trying to put across. This is a skill that we will need to practice. It's going to come in very helpful when you're providing things like feedback for others. The more you can evaluate someone's performance, or when you're watching something, the more information you can take out of that, the better it will be further down the line when you're coming to answer these style of questions, both in the portfolio and when it's exam time for the hires. But this is just our first look at it. In other words, in terms of complexity, we are right up there, okay, towards the top end of the periometer, but we'll crack on in the meantime. Now, when I think about the word evaluate, for me, it's in the word. Okay, we're asked to place the value of something. So in order to successfully evaluate, you need to be able to make some kind of judgment on something, some kind of opinion on something, and then give the overall value that that has to the situation you're talking about. At National 5 level, you're going to be asked to do this within the context of the personal development programme or the training programme. Evaluate the effectiveness of this. You're also going to be asked to evaluate your performance. Higher guys, as you are aware, from last year, the evaluate style question forms partly the more difficult style questions on the portfolio. You should have a much better grasp of this command word, so we're going to ask you to do a few more things with relation to evaluation, but we can get into that a little later. So the first thing we're going to look at is, when it comes to an evaluate question, just like our explain question and our analyse question, there is a structure that you can follow that will allow you to successfully negotiate this style of question. Again, we're going to break it into 3 different bits. So the first thing we have to make is a point. Now, in this instance, we're going to use it from the context of the bleep test, because it's a test that we all know and love, I'm sure, but we're going to be making points based on that. So we are going to make some kind of judgment about the bleep test, some opinion about the bleep test. We're then going to back that judgment up with some evidence, and we're going to basically do this by providing an example of why we selected the evaluative term in that opening judgment. and we'll talk about what an evaluative term is in just a sec. Once you've got that evidence there, you're then going to tell me what the overall effect of that was on that whole process. So, in other words, if we take one benefit of the bleep test being that it's practical because it's easy to interpret results, first thing we notice is that word benefit. That's our evaluative term. That's the judgment that this person has made about the bleep test. They've said that it was of benefit because it was practical. Now, the evidence that they have to back up that statement was because they said that all they had to do was compare their score to the national norms table and easily identify where they were within that table. So there's some evidence for that person saying why the bleep test was of benefit. Now, for the last part of that, because they were able to do that, this was helpful for them as it led to them easily identifying their CRE levels and then allowing them to set up a developmentally appropriate training program for them. So that's your 3 points of the structure. Now, I know that's quite a lot to take in, but the earlier we get used to this style of structure, the better. Once we're able to identify where these 3 different areas are within a question and we can break it down, that's going to really help our learning and understanding of how to answer and structure and evaluate question. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at some specific testing methods, and we're going to look at some good things and some bad things about these. Again, we're going to break it into 3 bits. I'm not going to read through all these. I want you to pause the video if you need to and have a look at these so that you can get your head around the 3 different parts of the way you would answer this style of question. So here's your first example. Again, if you need to pause the video to do this, please pause it, read it. Here's your next one. And finally, here's one final example. Okay, now for each of these examples, you'll notice that in the short paragraphs there are underlined words. Those are your evaluative style terms, okay? These are things that you're using to back up your answer. So for each part, we have got a point, we've got some evidence to back up that point, and then based on that evidence, we're giving an overall effect of why that person thought it was a benefit or a limitation, or in other words, why it was helpful or not helpful. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a slightly closer look at our beloved bleep test, and we're going to use that to further our understanding of the evaluative style question. Okay, the answer structure. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, using the knowledge that we've just had a look at, we're going to now try and identify some other benefits and limitations, again some useful parts and maybe some not so useful parts to this particular test. And I want you to consider the understanding that we gained when we looked at appropriateness of the testing methods in the cycle of analysis presentation that I made for you. Okay, so what I'd like you to do here is read over the slides again, just like the last section. Pause the video, read the statements or the answers, and I want you to see if you can identify those 3 parts of the structure. Okay, if you've not already done so, what I need you to do now is pause the video, look back over those slides and identify where the point, the evidence and the effect statements are for each answer. This is going to get your understanding of the structure for an evaluate style answer more developed, and it's going to help us greatly down the road. I'd also like you to try and identify where the evaluative words are within each of those answers. And then I'm going to have a word bank at the very end of the presentation that you can use to see if you've spotted them. But again, this is going to really help our understanding of this answer. Okay, so now that you've done that, what I'd like you to do is, this is a task I would like you to complete within the house. So, based on the knowledge that we have, I want you to go away and I would like you to evaluate some of the benefits and limitations of learning to drive at 17 years old. Okay, I want you to provide 4 points. Hiya guys, given that you're almost at the age of learning to drive, I'd like you to provide some really convincing benefits as to why you think learning to drive at 17 is a good idea. Once you've got some of those ideas, I'd like you to go and have a conversation with someone in the house. This is a great way to consolidate our learning, is to go away and tell someone else about the points that you're trying to convince them of, because it allows you to consolidate that learning even further. Okay, task 2 is going to be another evaluative style question in terms of the benefits and limitations. In this case, we're going to look at the precautions taken by the Scottish Government to contain COVID-19. Again, I want you to make 4 points about some good things and some bad things that you think the government has done to contain the COVID-19 outbreak. Okay, you can, and it's important to stress here that it's good to go and do a little bit of research for this, maybe online, go into Google, and this will just allow you to form stronger rationales for your opinions. Again, just like we said at the start, we must be able to back this up with some kind of evidence, some kind of reasoning to tell me why you've made that judgment effectively, or why you've formed that opinion. Finally, once you've done that, we're going to do a more slightly PE specific evaluative task. Hopefully by now you've all completed the Cooper Run test that I asked you to do. If not, you need to go and download the Strava app, go and complete the 12-minute run, and I would like you to look at the benefits and limitations of conducting the Cooper Run in that particular way, using your phone, doing it by yourself, and trying to work out the benefits and limitations of doing the test in that way. Some of the ways we can look at it is, for 4 marks, 2 benefits and 2 limitations. You could do 3 benefits, 1 limitation, or vice versa. It's up to you. Once you've got your answers, I would like you to email them to your class teacher, who can provide feedback, or another way you can do it is to upload your answers using your notebook section on your Microsoft Teams page. I'm going to leave you with some words, some evaluative terms that you can use to strengthen your answer. Please use the slides and structure within this presentation. Go back and look at it as many times as you want, because the purpose of this is to get our head around the structure of that answer, and as well as that, strengthening our ability to form opinions and judgments on stuff. It's going to help us massively in the future. Okay everyone, here's your word bank, and I'll see you soon.